अस्सलाम वालेकुम, आपके साथ मैं हूँ ज़ारा अब्बास और आज हम आपके साथ आए हैं एक स्पेशल शो के साथ। नाज़रीन, हमारी जो यूथ है बिज़नेस में बहुत ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टेड है, वो कारोबार में बहुत ज़्यादा इंटरेस्ट ले रहे होते हैं और सीखना भी चाहते हैं कि कारोबार कैसे किया जाए। इसके साथ साथ आजकल अगर हम देखें तो स्टूडेंट्स में बहुत ज़्यादा शौक़ पैदा हुआ है कि वो लॉ की तालीम हासिल करें और वो एक अच्छे वकील बन सकें। लेकिन ये ऐसा पॉसिबल कैसे है? बहुत से ऐसे स्टूडेंट्स हैं जो ये जानना चाहते हैं कि हम वहाँ तक पहुँचे कैसे, ये तालीम हासिल की कैसे जाए, या वो स्टूडेंट्स जो कि लॉ और साथ साथ जो बिज़नेस है वो सीखना चाहते हैं बाहर की यूनिवर्सिटी से, लेकिन वो भी कुछ हालात के बायस और कुछ आमदनी के बायस ऐसा पॉसिबल नहीं हो पाता, या शायद उनके पास गाइडेंस नहीं होती। इसलिए आज हमारे पास दो स्पेशल गेस्ट हैं, ऐसे एक्सपर्ट जो कि लॉ के एक्सपर्ट और बिज़नेस के एक्सपर्ट हैं। वो तमाम स्टूडेंट्स, दिस इज़ द राइट शो फॉर यू गाइस, क्योंकि वो आप लोगों को बताएंगे इन तमाम चीज़ों के बारे में। आज हमारे साथ फ्रॉम यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ लॉ दो ऐसे लोग हैं। एक है मिस्टर पीटर क्रिस्प, हु हैपन्स टू बी द डेप्टी वाइस चांसलर फ्रॉम द यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ लॉ UK, एंड वी हैव मिस्टर Andres Ruiz, डायरेक्टर बिजनेस स्कूल फ्रॉम द यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ लॉ. Welcome to the show and welcome to the Pakistan. First of all, I would like to know how is your stay coming along in Pakistan? Is Pakistan treating you so right?
Shall I go first, Andres, if I may?
You should go
Thank
first.
you.
Whoever wants to. You go first.
Well, I've been lucky enough to be coming to Pakistan since 1998, and I first came here on holiday, and we flew up to Skardu, and we went up the Hushay Valley, we trekked through Hushay, up over the Gondogoro La, into Concordia, and had the most amazing time. We saw K2, obviously from the bottom.
Okay.
I'm not that sort of mountaineer, but it was the most amazing time, and that really has cemented my love of this country, and I've been coming back here over the years for business, for work, and it's my favourite place, I think, to visit on an international trip.
Oh wow, that's really
the
great
food,
to know.
the hospitality, and the kindness of the people is really overwhelming. It's been a great trip.
Okay, the Pakistani food, people love Pakistani food. We are going to talk about that, but first you tell me how you found Pakistan and how you finding Pakistani people over here.
Well, it's really my first time in Pakistan, so I'm discovering the country.
This is your first time, and this is your and how?
I think it's 12th. I think it's 12th.
The 12th time you've been to Pakistan, and this is your first time.
My first time, yes, definitely.
So, do you find really good? Do you find people hospitable over here?
Yes, definitely. We have visited Lahore, then Islamabad, and now Karachi, and people are lovely. They are treating us. I mean, we are feeling like home, and the country is beautiful. I can
The people are very welcoming and they're very friendly over here, right?
Yes, definitely. Yes.
So I heard you people were in Islamabad last night, and then you came to Karachi.
That's right. Yes, exactly.
So how are you finding these, different cities, Islamabad, and you've been to Lahore? You've been to Lahore as well?
We haven't did, yes.
Lahore, Karachi, Islamabad. The different weather and the food and the atmosphere and the people. How do you find it?
Well, I think the great joy of Pakistan is the variety of experiences you can have here. So, Lahore, a city of culture, beautiful old city, the garden city. I won't comment on the food because it's unfair to compare, because it's all wonderful, but it is different, and there are lots of regional variations. Islamabad is a fantastic capital city, obviously planned on a grid system. And I think, Andres, you were saying it's like being in the country park the whole time because you're surrounded by trees and the beautiful mountains all around. So it's really lovely. And then, Karachi, the great commercial centre. The world's largest port, a great buzz, a great vibe to it. So, they're just very different places, and that's the great joy of travelling.
And what do you have to say about that?
Exactly the same. So I'm really impressed by Islamabad in particular, because I feel that it's a city that's been,
beautiful city.
Of course, it's created, it's recent, and definitely has been designed with very good purposes in mind. In particular, making everything green. And but what I'm particularly impressed is with how the Pakistanis are particularly entrepreneurial. So I found that there's a lot of interest in creating business. I had yesterday a class at the university, and when I asked the students to raise their hand if they were interested in creating their own companies, and many of them raised their hand. So I think it's a country full of opportunities that hopefully, thanks to
full of talented people as well, are looking for different opportunities.
Yes.
For them.
definitely. I would agree.
Okay, which Pakistani food you like the most?
My favourite restaurant for kebabs is Kabul in Islamabad.
Yeah.
For the views and the whole overall atmosphere, I love Monal up in the hills. I suppose I love the kebabs. The kebabs are delicious. But then the dals, of course,
And I hope
vary.
you don't find them spicy, right?
No, I mean, I like spicy food.
Really?
Yeah, I do
That's
very much.
really good.
Yes.
I think maybe after coming to Pakistan for 12 times, then you fell in love with the spicy food?
Absolutely.
Is
yeah,
that so?
Yes. I love very simple things like dal. I mean, that you can do something so amazing with,
Dal chawal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But my other top favourite thing, gulab jamun.
Oh, wow.
And you have to have at least two.
Yeah.
At least two.
Have you tried it yet? Gulab jamun, that the sweet at the desert, you know.
Yes, that's what I wanted to say. I can't remember the names.
You're gonna make him try, you know.
But definitely
That's
the
really
excellent.
great.
Yes.
Which Pakistani food you like the most? Have you people tried biryani yet?
Yes, we have. Yes.
That happens to be our, national food.
Yes.
But apparently there's controversy whether it should have potato in it, and I think in
It has to be or not?
not whether it has potato in or doesn't have potato in it. And I think some parts of the country.
Well, I love potatoes in biryani.
Yeah, I think other parts they say no potatoes.
No potatoes. All right. And what about the tea? Do you like Pakistani tea? Because the neighboring country, they have endorsed it that the tea is fantastic. Okay?
It's very refreshing. The cardamom makes it very, very refreshing.
Oh, yes.
But I don't put sugar in it, so I have it sort of
sugar?
natural with milk
yeah.
and the cardamom. Yes, delicious,
Okay.
very
How
refreshing.
about you? Have you tried Pakistani tea yet?
Yes, that has already been a discovery too. So for me, that pink tea is particularly tasty with all the spices, and it's really a surprise. I'm a tea connoisseur.
Really?
Yes, I've tried teas from many countries, all varieties, and I must say that I'm impressed with the Pakistani one.
Coming back to, since you are the Deputy VC of
Yes.
the University of Law, and you are the Director of Business School from the University of Law, we would like you to enlighten us about its details.
I mean, the University of Law has a long and proud heritage. We were founded in 1876, and I'm very proud to say that we have educated more lawyers than any other university in the world. I mean, that's perhaps a surprising statistic, except if you think about it, since we've been going since 1876, the 1800s, it's an obvious statistic. So we have a great specialism in law. We offer our undergraduate program, the LLB, but we also specialise in our postgraduate programs for those who want to be called to the bar as barristers, so bar at law, and also the solicitors program in England as well. And we have a suite of masters programs, specialist masters programs in law.
I like to say that we have the best of two worlds, the old and the new. So we have been recently created. That means that we want to remain relevant, current with all the latest trends in business. So that's why we have programs in cybersecurity, data analytics, quite contemporary things and relevant for the employment market. But also, we make use of all the university has created across the years, and in particular the methodology, because they use a very participative methodology. It's based on the students' discussion of real cases of law. So we use the same methodology for business. So we confront the students with real business situations, and through the discussion of the business, of the situation, they develop that critical thinking that is important for decision making. So we leave behind a little bit the theory, and we focus on the real decisions that the students make on the case that we are discussing.
Right.
So that's something that really brings.
All right, so we have break time right now. We are going towards the break. Break के बाद वापस आके मज़ीद बात करेंगे. We are in conversation with Mr. Peter and Mr. Andres right after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back, and we are back with the fantastic tea of Pakistan, right? Are you enjoying your tea?
Delicious, thank you.
Delicious, all right. Okay, so we were talking about the law. Your trip to Pakistan, how does this help to Pakistan and the people of Pakistan, inspiring students and the lawyers, especially here in Pakistan? Your trip?
Well, we're looking at ways in which we can collaborate with universities here in Pakistan, and the number of ways we can do that certainly is around joint programs and the articulation of programs. So, for example, student exchange, faculty exchange, and collaborating on research projects, and also exciting ideas around summer schools, which could, for example, focus on the skills that lawyers need in order to practice successfully, and also perhaps organising a joint legal conference here in Pakistan.
Oh, well, that's great. That's great. And what do you have to say about that?
So for business is particularly important, the international scope. It's important that the students get accustomed to working with other cultures, in other environments. So programs that are delivered throughout 2 different countries or even more are really relevant for them, because that gives them exposure to different ideas, in particular for, as we said before, for entrepreneurs. Wow. It's very important that they create a network, that sometimes that international support that they can find in projects and in expanding their business in the future, that's very important. So all those agreements that we are reaching with the universities, they are very relevant to the students here and there in both places.
Okay. You studied culture here, right? The culture
yes,
of Pakistan
certainly.
and the culture. What do you think is the basic difference in the legal systems in Pakistan and back to the UK?
Okay, I mean, I think the first thing I would start about the things that connect us. And the things that are very similar. And obviously we have a shared history and heritage. And of course a lot of the law here in Pakistan is very, very similar to the law back in England. The principles are the same. So I think that's something that's something that's very exciting, is that we have this shared legal history and heritage. And that's one of the things that we want to build upon in our collaborations here with universities. Because a lot of students have aspirations to become practicing advocates, to become lawyers. And one of the ways that they may be able to do that is to come to England and to be called to the bar at law. So that's what unites us, and that's what's I suppose the connections that we have. So, for example, in the law of contract, the law of tort, the principles in Pakistan are virtually the same as the principles in England. I suppose the 2 differences, I think, are Sharia law, which obviously is overlaid over law here in Pakistan, and the second difference is constitutional. Pakistan has a written constitution, England doesn't, which is one of the historic anomalies, I suppose, within the United Kingdom, is we don't have a written constitution. So I expect those are the 2 things that I would pull out. Okay. But I think there's more that unites us and connects us than is different.
And how do you see the difference? Let's talk about the business, because you're dealing in business. So what do you have to say about that?
Oh, well, definitely, we had an advantage in the subject in general of business, that we're not constrained by the legal regulations in any particular country, and some of the rules are universal in a way for business. So elements of marketing, elements of operations management, elements of behavior. So they are quite the same here and there. Of course, they are different, and that's why collaborating with the local universities gives the students a different scope, a different perspective of how things are different here and there. But I would say that pretty much the interest, in particular in creating, founding companies, it's quite similar here and there.
So if we talk about the COVID pandemic, the students are into online classes and all that. So do you think it is the tool for the law students and for the students who are pursuing their career in business?
I mean, my view is that we've been living through the biggest experiment in online learning the world has ever seen. And I think what the pandemic has demonstrated, dreadful though it has been, is that it's actually possible to deliver law programs and business programs entirely successfully online. Because in March last year, we were forced to close all of our campuses. We've got 15 campuses around the UK, all of them closed almost overnight. And we had 15,000 students who suddenly had to learn online. And the University of Law had an advantage because we've had an online campus, ULaw Online, for over 10 years. And we've got about 3,000 students who choose to study online. But obviously, all the other students were suddenly, forced to study online. And I think what we've proved is that you can achieve the same learning outcomes. It's a different experience, but you can achieve the same learning outcomes as you can in the face-to-face ground classroom. On the other hand, what I would say is that students actually do want to engage socially as well, because I think most of us are social learners. We like engagement face-to-face.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we gave our students a study guarantee, and we said that as soon as government regulations allow, we will reopen our campuses. You can choose to stay online, or you can choose to come back on campus. and 80% of our students came back on campus.
So what do you think? The students, they prefer the online teachings, or they love the, you know?
I think they like the hybrid. I think they like a blend, a mix, because it gives them flexibility, it gives them mobility. So if a student, for example, for one semester is unable to study face-to-face for personal reasons, they can switch to the online mode. They can even switch campuses if they want. And so I think that flexibility is what's going to come out of the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. And what do you think? How do you take that?
Apart from agreeing with Professor Crisp, there are things that the movement from face-to-face to online has taught us. And there are some advantages, in particular, of the online delivery.
Yes. What kind of advantages do you think they have?
For example, for some kind of students, in this discussion about the cases that I mentioned before, they prefer to take a different approach. They prefer to reflect in more depth and then to contribute. And you find that discussion sometimes is richer. And sometimes the contributions are much more in perspective because people have had the time to reflect more deeply. Another thing that we can apply more easily online, for example, is the use of learners' analytics. So we have a system that allows us to understand what programs are evolving, engaging with the program, and what students may be in danger of maybe not meeting the final assessment at the level that we want. And we can apply that much more easily if the interaction is online, because we can track their interaction more easily than when things happen face to face. So we can intervene, we can help them to improve. So there are things that are even better online.
Okay. If we talk about the ethics and the professionalism, so do you think how is it going to help lawyers? Is it really important for the lawyers and for you, for the businessmen? The ethics and the professionalism, how important that is?
Well, ethics is at the bedrock of everything that a lawyer does. So behaving ethically and following the code of conduct of your profession is absolutely essential. And for me, it's about doing the right thing when no one is looking. That for me is the mantra that I would want my students to take away. And therefore ethics should pervade everything that a student does at university, all the way through their LLB, all the way through their bar course. It's about behaving appropriately and behaving correctly. Because your reputation is made on that. One slip and one mistake.
It matters the most, yeah?
Absolutely. So, and it's not just about reputation, though. It's actually about the public interest and the public good, because we all live in the house of law. We all need law. We're never away from it. And the public have to trust us as lawyers. They have to believe in us, and that what we are doing is fair, equitable, and appropriate. And I think ethics is just a fundamental, it should be the thread that runs through everything that a lawyer does, behaving correctly.
What do you think about that?
From the perspective of business, it's not different, but I would add that it's particularly linked, ethics and sustainability. We do believe that business needs to remain in time and perdure for many years to come. And probably that's impossible to achieve without a strong ethical foundation. Because at the end of the day, people don't want to relate with businesses or people. So
do you teach your students about the ethics and professionalism?
It's a compulsory subject on our programs, yes. So certainly other than the bar course, it's compulsory, and it's pervasive in the sense that it's not just a separate module, it's something that runs through. So if you're performing advocacy, you're doing examination in chief or cross-examination, ethics is at the forefront, and we assess it as a pervasive subject. So we embed within the assessments ethical points that students have to spot and make ethical decisions about how to behave and what to do.
Exactly the same. We have in particular in the MSc, we have a core module that is taught across most of them that is called Business Success Through Ethics. And that is taken by all the students. And probably the ones that are focused in corporate governance have also an additional load of ethics, because it's important that people at the top of the pyramid, they really apply that throughout the whole company.
We have a break, so I think we should go towards the break, and then once we come back, we will talk about the digitalization and how it is going to, or how it is already changing the law and the business profession, right? But right after the break, stay with us. वेलकम बैक। हमारे साथ आज पीटर क्रिस्प और एंड्रियाज रुइज मौजूद हैं फ्रॉम द यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ लॉ, और हम उनसे बात कर रहे हैं। अच्छा, बिफोर वी वर गोइंग टू द ब्रेक वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट द डिजिटलाइजेशन. सो हाउ इज इट चेंजिंग द प्रोफेशन ऑफ लॉ एंड द प्रोफेशन फॉर द बिजनेस?
Well, it's actually making huge differences at the moment. So legal technology is having a big impact on the way that lawyers work. So, for example, if you're doing an acquisition, you're buying a company or a business and you need to do due diligence, that is nearly always done now remotely, so online. So rather than the old days when you go into a room and there'll be boxes of files and paper and documents, it's all electronic. And there are computer programs, and software packages that you can buy that will support you in conducting your due diligence. For example, basic contracts, well, actually not just basic contracts, quite sophisticated contracts can be drafted electronically. Obviously, human intervention is still required, but certainly the lawyers of the future need to be very comfortable with legal technology.
Okay. And what do you think about that, the digitalization and its impact on your profession?
Yes, definitely, very, very heavily. It's easy to understand if you consider how for example, the discipline of marketing was a few years ago and how it is now. So a few years ago, it was like an art. So people made decisions. They were experts. They got the results. But somehow metrics were not there. Now, for example, digital marketing online, on website, they can measure exactly how many people enter a website, how they navigate throughout it, how many clicks they have, what they see. So it has changed a lot. So by moving from the face-to-face, from the physical world to the digital world, it has changed in the sense that now we can measure and track much more easily. If you consider that the next step, the next frontier will be big data and artificial intelligence, there's a lot to learn now, because with all the information that now we are getting throughout that tracking, now the artificial intelligence tools will come to change the world of business. I do believe it's going to change the world of business.
Okay, wow, that's great to know. Okay, is there any important skill set for this profession, for your profession?
For my profession as
a businessman, you teach business. How about businessman? Is there any important skill set for them?
Yes, definitely. Yes,
Really?
I could mention in particular they need to have, of course, a vision. They need to have a strong calling. I mean, in particular, entrepreneurs they need to have a strong internal engine, something that drives them to start, because being an entrepreneur is a difficult task, and it's definitely, they need to be resilient. They need to in fact, I would say that a very key aspect is knowing how to treat other people, how to fit into teams. So those elements are essential for a person that is operating within the business environment, and without that, it's very difficult to succeed, honestly.
Okay, otherwise it flourish.
Exactly, and what you said, ethics. That's more an attitude than a skill.
We were talking about it, right?
But I cannot avoid mentioning that.
And what are the skill set for the lawyers?
Well, in many ways, a successful lawyer is also running a successful business. So in fact, many of the qualities and behaviours and skills that Dr. Andres has identified are also essential for lawyers. But as a lawyer, I mean, the things that you really need to be very, very strong on are advocacy. And there are two types of advocacy. There's oral advocacy, so when you're in court and you are presenting your case to the judge, to the court. Advocacy is obviously absolutely a key skill. But there's also written advocacy, because clients expect to receive advice in writing. The court expects to have pleadings that are properly and succinctly drafted. So those are absolutely essential. Underpinning all of this is legal research. I mean, no lawyer knows all the law, and why would you want to know all the law? But every lawyer needs to know where to access the law, where to find it, and how to get to the answer and to the result that the client needs. And so I would say advocacy and legal research are the two things that underpin everything that a lawyer does.
All right, all right. Okay, I think all the students in Pakistan who are law students, they want to know University of Law, is that providing any scholarships for the students and for the youths, and especially those who are pursuing or who wants to pursue their careers in law and in business?
Yes, absolutely. So we have a full range of scholarships and bursaries. They vary from program to program, but it's all set on out on our website, which is very easy to find. University of Law. If you Google that,
University of Law.
Fun enough, it's the first thing that comes up, of course.
Okay.
So we have a full range of scholarships and support for our students, because we do appreciate that for many students the cost of studying abroad is very high, but of course there's always the option of studying online, and that is a very attractive.
From Pakistan as well?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. And currently, is there any program going on for the students, or is that in the pipeline, the exchange program for the students?
Currently, no, not with Pakistan, and this is what we have came here to try to provide to these students who may want to take some terms in the UK and some terms in Pakistan. So that's been a part of a conversation with all the universities we have been visiting, and definitely we hope that in the near future we'll be able to provide a term abroad that students can take here and there, and of course exchange of modules, exchange of lecturers. So yes, of course, that's on our desk at the moment.
All right. And at the end, is there any message, we will start off with you, if any message you would like to give to the youth of Pakistan, and especially the students who wants to pursue their careers in law?
Well, it's interesting. I think for me, it's really about believing in yourself, first of all, because you need to believe that you want to be a lawyer and you can be a lawyer. And if you apply yourself and you work hard and you're diligent, you will be a successful lawyer. I think the second thing I would say is to believe in your country. I mean, you can export yourself, and if you go abroad to study, but come back, because your country and your nation needs you. The talent that you have and what your country's invested in you, you should return here, it seems to me. But thirdly, I think for me, it's believe in the power of education to transform lives, because it really can. I mean, it's transformed my life, and I think the power of education is what it's all about.
Okay, and what your message is for the youth of Pakistan?
Probably very similar to what Professor Chris mentioned before. I would say that it's important that they somehow understand that whatever they do, they can do that in many different countries. They can do that in the UK, they can do that in Pakistan. And in fact, what I would say is try to get out of the comfort zone and try to explore not just other countries, also other spheres, just to take some risks. Exactly, take some risks. And that way they will expand the area of influence, and that will be very positive for them for the future.
Okay. So thank you so much, Mr. Peter Chris and Mr. Andres Ruiz. It was lovely having you on the show, and it was lovely talking to you. Thank you so much. आप लोगों ने सुना हमारे साथ आज के गेस्ट. आई होप आपको इनसे काफ़ी इन्फॉर्मेशन मिली होगी, और वो तमाम स्टूडेंट्स जो कि अगर लॉ में पढ़ना चाहते हैं, लॉ की डिग्री हासिल करना चाहते हैं, जैसे मिस्टर पीटर ने बताया कि एजुकेशन अगर अब्रॉड थोड़ी महंगी है, लेकिन ऑनलाइन भी पाकिस्तान से बैठे भी आप तालीम हासिल कर सकते हैं और इनको ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं. आई होप कि आज के शो से आपको बहुत सी चीज़ें ऐसी मालूमात हुई होंगी मिस्टर पीटर और मिस्टर आंद्रिया से. आज के लिए इतना ही. बहुत शुक्रिया. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर बीइंग विद अस. आई एम ज़ारा अब्बास. थैंक यू एंड गॉड ब्लेस यू. टेक केयर.